So on Twitter, I follow a few atheist meme pages, and I've found that most of their memes kind of suck, primarily because of how inaccurate the content they're memeing is. I think a good meme is something that actually hits at something that is a legitimate occurrence in reality and inverts it and makes it sort of satirical. These meme pages don't get the content that they're making fun of, and so therefore their jokes are totally misdirected and don't hit the mark, in my opinion, at all. And most of these meme pages don't even really share memes or jokes. They share quotes and pithy little signs. For instance, there's this atheist page called The Pink Heretic, and she shared a quote from Douglas Adams saying that, "Can't we just believe the garden is beautiful without believing there's fairies in it?" And the image will be somewhere here. And the answer to that quote is, well, of course not. Fairies are integral to gardens. Fairies have been in gardens since the beginning of time. The nymphs, the dryads, the fairies, the wizards, the witches, the warlocks, they've all been integral to the garden, the nursery rhyme, uh, you know, and fairy tales. And when you grow up on fairy tales. And in those fairy tales, there are always fairies in the garden. They're necessary. The gardens wouldn't be beautiful without the fairies. And we couldn't believe that gardens were beautiful without fairies or magic. Primarily because we grow used to everything, and the idea that there are fairies in the garden keeps us from growing used to the garden. The idea that we don't understand the garden and that the garden is fundamentally outside of our grasp, right? The idea that we can't really truly understand the origin of tulips and chrysanthemums and ferns and bushes. The idea that their origin of life, that where they came from is outside of our grasp, is that air of mystery. That is magic. That is the fairy spell. The idea that the whole thing is quite outside our grasp. We understand about this much of all life on earth, and life on earth, I think, is what the garden is. It's the symbolic garden. And so the answer to, can't we just believe it's beautiful without fairies, I would emphatically say no, because fairies are integral to it. And maybe I don't necessarily mean Tinkerbell and Anastasia and the thimble fairies and that kind of thing, and that the flowers get up and dance at night. Maybe I don't believe that necessarily, but I do believe that the garden must and does require an air of mystery and magic to maintain its beauty. So the next one comes from a page called the Atheist Republic. Again, they're another meme page. They share quotes and images of religious memes. And this one says, you can see it here, it says, Christian, you're going to hell for not believing in God. Atheists, and they're all happy because they don't care and they don't believe it exists. Well, one, you don't go to hell for not believing in God. Any third-rate Christian knows that. Hell, one, is a voluntary place, a place that you go by your own volition, and two, hell is void of God. So if you didn't believe in God or didn't want to be with God, then that place would be hell, the place void of God. So not believing in God, it doesn't really play into whether you go to hell or not. It's hell is a place for people who've missed the mark and have decided that their lives would be better off without God, and that then they would propagate that the different virtues in their life, and the propagation of these virtues would even turn their own lives into hell. For instance, if love of money, you may want to use money, and money is not an inherently bad thing, but if you set up love of money as the one thing that you should aspire to, then at the end of your life you'll become some sort of warped Scrooge. You'll become sort of a goblin, an actual creature of hell. And if you were to live forever and continuing in that same vein and propagating those same values, you would become more of that creature of hell, and that's sort of what my understanding of hell is, and why I really don't think that this meme is accurate at all. And then the third meme comes from the Pink Heretic again, which it's another one about hell. It's here. And it says, "Why would God create a human he knows will end up in hell?" And I retweeted this one simply with saying that hell is voluntary. And it, by my standards and by the analytics of my tweets, outperformed anything that I've ever tweeted before. And the idea that hell is voluntary is, I think, absolutely true. That in the end, there are two circumstances. As C.S. Lewis noted, he said that there are two things that can happen at the end of your life. That you either bend the knee to God and say, "Thy will be done," or God bends the knee to you and says, "Thy will be done." And if he says, "Thy will be done," and gives you up to your ways, those ways would inevitably be hell. Again, the propagation of your own values and virtues derived from your limited understanding of reality would almost always result in hell. Quite simply because not only do you not understand yourself, but you don't understand reality in the slightest. And so you couldn't accurately develop values or beliefs or anything in a vacuum in and of yourself, because of your limited comprehension and limited capacity for reason and understanding. And so you couldn't really say that this one thing is the best thing of all things and this one thing is the thing that I should aspire to, because you couldn't see the end of all things, you know. Or to quote Gandalf or J.R.R. Tolkien, he says, "Not even the wise know all ends." And so you couldn't say, again, that love of money or patriotism or absolute self-sacrifice were the things to ultimately aspire to, because you could conceive of instances where doing such a thing would be evil and would result in the corruption of your soul rather than the sanctification of your soul. So those are the three memes that I wanted to talk about, just because they're the three ones that stuck out to me the most over the past week that I've just been browsing Atheist Twitter on YouTube. And if you like this video and you want to see more things like this, leave a comment down below and let me know, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.